Hello and welcome to this episode of Success Synergy Show. I am your host Meena Dayal and I have Mr. Tim Hughes with me from DLA Ignite. He is the founder and CEO of DLA Ignite. He is also a Twitter influencer and a great friend of mine. I'm so thankful to you, Tim, for joining us live.
You're
It's
welcome.
just wonderful. And we'll be discussing top 10 strategies, growth strategies that will give you real growth on Twitter with Tim. And the last time we met, we wanted to discuss this, but we went on discussing social media in general more, which is, of course, great because maximizing your social influence is really important for everybody these days. And it gave me a lot of insights. Even then, although it was not a complete wholesome package of the strategy which Tim is very graciously going to share with us today, I want to announce one thing that using those tips, I got more than 500 followers in the last month on Twitter, which is a great thing for me. It is just phenomenal for me. So now you know how great this bundle of top 10 Twitter growth strategies is going to be. So stay with us and ask your questions live to Tim. And I'm just putting up a banner over here so that everybody can see it. And welcome to the show again, Tim. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. I think it's fantastic that you came to me and you said, "I'm struggling with Twitter. Give me
Yes.
some help. Give me 10 things I can do." So I wrote down 10 things, and you've been able to get 500 followers. Now, what I would say is that it's not about me; it's about you. It's you. It's you that's put the effort in. And I may have written those things down, but you're the person that's had to put the hard work in.
See, there is hard work involved on Twitter as well as on other social media, but one needs to know exactly what to do. And for that, I'm
Hmm.
extremely grateful to you,
And
Tim.
it's given you a framework, and you've worked to it. And 500 followers is is great
Yes,
progress.
it's great.
So,
It's great.
but you haven't done all of. I mean, you admitted to me you haven't
No,
done all the things, but
no,
but yeah, hey, there's growth there. So, but it's
this
fantastic.
works.
But it's not me.
Absolutely.
It's all you, Nina. It's all you.
I'm so grateful for you to say this. See, Tim, it's always like that. Great people always. We have a saying here in Hindi that the fruit-laden tree is always bent. So I am also deeply in gratitude to you.
Yes,
Whatever
yeah,
you're sharing with me. So
and this is it's there's lots of people in through life that have said um, that that it's actually leadership is about bringing everybody up, not necessarily about being something different. And
so
my
true.
view is that it's about helping you. You said that you wanted to step up. You have stepped up, and you've got some great success. It's
Yes.
fantastic.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So looking forward to the entire package of top 10 growth strategies.
Yes, yeah. So we've got.
Please.
So I've got them to my left hand side. So if I look over there, it's because I don't
It's
put
okay.
them.
It's okay.
So so
We are on live, so we are just sitting in our homes and working. And this is the best thing about remote working that you can be as you are and still create powerful
so
content.
there's something on Twitter called Twitter chats. So I'm actually
Yes.
this sounds that I'm starting with something that's actually quite difficult, but actually it's really easy. And there are thousands of Twitter chats, thousands across the world. And what they are usually run quite locally. They may be run by city or certain areas. So you can find them by going to Twitter and just searching on maybe where you live or something, or the particular subject that you're interested in. And you'll find that probably once a week, maybe Tuesday at 8 p.m. or something, there will be this chat. Now I have a good friend in the UK. His name is Jazz Greer. And he's run these things, and he's explained to me. He said, actually, the way it works is that you form these communities.
Yes.
So you'll have a solicitor, you'll have an accountant, you'll have I'm trying to think, somebody, a manufacturer or something, and ultimately what you're doing is that you're promoting your products. And he said, actually, that's the way it works. And he said some of these people will split off and say, there may be a web designer, and you go, well, actually, I need a website. and you may split off and have a call with them. But ultimately, it's about promoting your products and services in the local area. So if you're a small business, particularly, Twitter chats is something really to look at.
I,
And
I have to say something over here, Tim. Actually, I participated in a chat called Twitter Smarter by Madeline Sklar, and she is also going to come on the show. I got very interested in talking with her. It's a lively community, and a lot of followers came from there. And Madeline is coming on the show on 29th of
fantastic.
this month. So
Yep.
just announcing it to look.
Yeah, and there's a human resources and payroll management consultancy called Mercer, and they do something called Mercer Chat. So if you look at the hashtag Mercer Chat, you'll find that it's mainly about leadership, future of work, human resources, but you'll find things in subject areas that you're interested in. Sometimes they're run by influencers, sometimes it's just run by ordinary people in there that's looking to create communities within their local area. But it's a great place to start. One of the things about Twitter is if you're new to it, one of the things is to actually go on and listen to what people are doing. And this is just a really interesting way to listen to what people are doing, the tone of it, and then feeling that, just like we're having a conversation, you can have a conversation with other people on Twitter. And now, let's not forget that 65% of Twitter accounts don't tweet.
Okay. All right.
So a lot of people use Twitter as a form of finding the news, and I think that's gone up certainly during the pandemic by something like 50%. Most people now, I'm probably the exception, get their news from social media. I still get my news from the BBC and Sky News, but a lot of people use Twitter because it's instantaneous. It's in real time.
Some people have told me this. Yes.
Yes. So
one of my lawyer's friends has.
So it's instantaneous. So if I go to Google, so one of my favorite bands, New Order, they released a new single yesterday, which is a big thing because don't think they've released one for about 8 years. Now, if I went to Google and I searched New Order, all I would do is find their website, which actually didn't have on the information I wanted. But they released it on Twitter. And I happened to go onto Twitter and I saw that it was New Order was trending, so I was able to get all the latest information on it. So it is instantaneous, whereas if you go to Google, quite often it's static information. It's somebody's website, and that information may have been up there for 3 years or something. So it is a very fast-moving, up to the moment social network.
Right. Exactly. I started enjoying myself on Twitter also.
Good.
Because it's just wonderful when you have the people with whom you're conversing right there, and they are replying to you, you're engaging with them. It's a different world altogether, which I never used to enjoy myself earlier. So
yes, and the thing about one of the things about social networks is it's got rid of hierarchy, and so there's no reason why you can't talk to me and I can't talk to you, because it doesn't matter who you are, you in a way have a right to talk to the person. If they ignore you, then fine. But you can get into conversations with people, all kinds of people. Proper influencers like Brian Solis and people like that. You can go to them and immediately have a conversation. So there is no hierarchy.
Right, exactly. And Tim, I would also like to announce one thing, that out of these 500 followers, I've got several business leads which are just kind of warming up now, but to have fructified. So it's new business also that has come up. It's not just plain followers I'm talking about. It's really
you've got 2 leads from it.
No, I got several leads, but two real business propositions.
Okay.
So that's
fantastic. So moving on, so we kind of moved on to the second part, which is that Twitter it's a social network. So you need to be social and you need to network. Right. And really what you need to do is follow, engage with the people that you want to follow, engage with. So it may be people in your industry, people with knowledge in your particular area. It may be that if you're in sales, it's the accounts that you're selling to, your prospects, and that may be following and engaging with the companies, though companies kind of not that interesting because companies are biased and they just say buy my product because it's great, whereas the people, this is it's a people thing, and you can engage and have conversations with those people. What I always do, and this is a tip for you guys, which is that, and I did this with you,
Yes.
you basically came to me and retweeted me or something like that. So
Yes,
I immediately
exactly.
looked you up on LinkedIn to see that you
Yes.
were real. And I do this for everybody. I'm not just saying that I didn't think that you were real. I do it for everybody. And I sent you a connection request on LinkedIn. So one of the things that I try and do is move my contacts from
From
Twitter to LinkedIn.
Twitter to LinkedIn. Yes.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
you then have a different relationship. Um,
Exactly.
Twitter can be very more transient, whereas LinkedIn can be far more long term. So that's a thing for people to do. So you need to make sure that you've got a good Twitter profile, but you also need to
Through
have
this transition only, the business leads that have come to me, they are through this transition only.
okay.
For me, it is like Twitter to LinkedIn to Zoom.
Yeah,
Because unless you meet somebody face to face, you can't really think of having a business relationship with them. This is just the way I have been working for the last 10 years. And third transition has always moved from social media to a face-to-face meeting on Zoom. And I've been using Zoom for more than 8 years now. I've been a paid member of Zoom.
wow.
Zoom has suddenly shot into fame because of the pandemic. But so yeah, I've been a Zoom veteran, if you can say that.
And that's lovely. I totally agree. Twitter, move the conversation to LinkedIn. You're forming that relationship,
Right.
and at some point, you should say, let's get on a Zoom and have a chat.
Right.
Yeah, that's great.
That's how I have been working all along for the last 10 years since I've been into business coaching. Before that, also, it used to be mostly online for me. But my business coaching has always been online because of certain situations I had to have the network expanded, and that was the only way of going global. For a small person like me, for a solopreneur, that was the only way to go global. So, I mean, instead of investing in a big office and big things, I invested in a good laptop, and that's how it went. And one of my business partners, he asked me once we were initially communicating before we struck a relationship. He asked me, "Where are your headquarters?" And he also came through LinkedIn. I thought for a moment and I said, wherever I opened my laptop. And he was very fascinated with that at that point in time, 10 years back. He was pretty fascinated because it was something unheard of at that point in time. But
Yeah,
I have always been working that way.
yeah.
So, so that's just he told me later on that he kept on using this sentence in his seminars and giving this example. But then all of a sudden, now we find ourselves in a pandemic situation, and this is the way of life now.
It is a way of life. Yeah. So
Yes.
there was some research published recently, just to back that
Okay.
up. There's a guy on LinkedIn called Simon Kemp who does some research for Hootsuite and We Are Social. There are now 4.57 billion people, which is 60% of the world's population on the internet. And 3.96 billion, which is 51% of the world's population, active on social media. So there are now more people on social media than not on social
Yes.
media. And I think that when, so that was from July. I think when he does the figures in October, we'll see another massive leap.
Another rise. Yes.
And I don't know if you've seen there's some figures from McKinsey out, which actually show, you've been involved in e-commerce, and it shows a gradual graph of e-commerce acceptance. But in the last 3 months, it's gone up. So there's actually been 10 years worth of e-commerce take up in the last 3 months. And that's transformational.
That's absolutely transformational. In fact, I just saw before we sat on this show. I mean, I just saw a tweet. I think you have just recently made a tweet today on this. I just saw the graph. I could not even read the article
It's
fully.
it's it's amazing. I mean, when I
It's
saw the
amazing.
figures, it was I had to write about it.
Yes, it's phenomenal.
Which is then which brings us to the next point,
Yes,
which is um, so point number 5 is that if you want to increase your following, what you need is insightful and educational and different content.
yes.
And so
Very
that's
good.
not corporate content. You know, here's my company and isn't it great? Because everybody says that. What you need to be doing is thinking about telling people things they don't know and educating them. And if you want to know what that means, then come and look at my Twitter profile. You'll very kindly retweet some of that stuff. And that's about when you first start on Twitter, it's perfectly fine to retweet other people's things. You don't need to create your own content.
That's
At some point in the future, you will need to create your own content. But let's crawl before we can walk. But sharing other people's content, and remember that when you're sharing, if you're sharing Tim Hughes' tweet, you're also sharing his influence. So what you're doing is that you're taking his influence and using it for yourself. So
yes.
you're able to build influence on Twitter yourself without actually having to write a word. You can take, we'll retweet Brian Solis, we'll retweet Tim Hughes, we'll retweet Ted Rubin, and you can basically build a portfolio in effect of educational and insight from other people.
Actually, Tim, that is the greatest point I feel, because many times when you're at a loss, when I am at a loss for what to write, I mean, just go on the your newsfeed and you find so much of great content that you can simply retweet. You don't have to do anything, or maybe just retweet with your own comment, and that's it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you do a great job because what you do is you use your own comment. So you place your own context.
Exactly.
And so what you're doing is that you're doing somebody a favor, because if someone's going to read my article, they won't know it's a good article until they've read it. So investing 3-5 minutes in reading it, for some people they may go, well, who's Tim Hughes? I'm not going to read that. But by reading the context that you create, in effect, they don't need to, you save them the 3 or 5 minutes of reading the article. So and because you're doing that, you're doing them a favor. And when people do people a favor, you go, I'll follow Nina because she's obviously got some access to great, and she obviously reads the stuff and she'll put some context. So I don't need to do it, read it. So it's a win-win.
I think it works very fine, and I am the kind of person who has to put a twist on everything. Twist in the sense that I have to give my comment if I like some content. So it's, I mean, I've been commenting on other people's blogs and things like that. It's just a force of habit, and it's a way of just sharing my own views. Also,
Commenting in blogs is a great thing to do. It's one of the best forms of flattery for a blog. It's not, I write, and it's nice for some people to come on and like, but it's better if people come on and comment. And that could be that you disagree, because, life is sometimes about not agreeing with people, or even saying, I read your article, I really like this. What about this? Or have you thought about this? Because quite often as a writer, you sit there in your own little room here in London, and I don't necessarily think about all the things I can, and so people can add context and value to what's been written, and comments are fantastic.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely, I agree with you 100%. And these tips have given me great results already. So I mean, that's like I'm broadcasting it to the world right now. Yes.
So the next point, which is point 6, is kind of we've kind of moved on to this, which is, I always say to people, play nicely. There's a lot of on Twitter. There's a lot of, it's become quite a political social network, and it's become quite polarized, and people sit in their own little camps, and if you want to throw stones at people, then fine. But if you want to sell, by using Twitter. Making political comment is not a great thing, because just as much as you may believe that Manchester United is the best football team in the world, I'm a Liverpool supporter, and it doesn't matter how many facts you place in front of me that Manchester United
It's
are
not
better.
going to change a thing. Yes, it's
It's
not going
not
to
going to
change.
change my belief system. And so anything. So my advice, my advice is, and I avoid anything to do with politics. I avoid anything to do with religion,
Right.
and I avoid anything to do with addiction. So betting, drinking, anything like that, because just as much as you may like a glass of wine, there may be people that you're going to be selling to that are teetotal
Absolutely.
or
Absolutely.
vegetarian.
Absolutely, Tim. In fact, I also want to say a little bit over here. But people need to understand what they want to do with social media. Just being on social media doesn't mean that one has become a mouthpiece for everything. Or if one has an opinion, one has to share it. That doesn't make sense to me at all. What are you doing on social media? Why are you on social media? What is the basic interest that you have? What is your
Yes,
basic agenda? What is your objective of being there? Needs to be very clear. If you want to be a supporter of a political party or something, then might as well go ahead and do it. It suits
yes,
your agenda.
and if I have 5 Twitter accounts, because what I do is I've split things up. And if you want to be political, then have a separate Twitter account.
Separate one. Absolutely.
But remember that people can find you,
Yes.
and you may be let's say something. You may be anti-Trump, but you may be trying to sell to somebody who's a Trump supporter. And if you say something anti-Trump, that Trump supporter probably won't buy from you. So
Yes.
the key thing is to keep those belief systems to yourself.
Exactly. But this is one major mistake that most of the people I've seen making on not just Twitter, but all of the social media. Just because a platform is available does not mean you have to voice all your opinions.
Yeah,
Keep some
yes,
opinions to yourself. Keep yourself a private person. You can keep yourself a private person and still be a great Twitter person or a Facebook person or whatever.
yes. So I mean, my business partner, he expresses his political views on Facebook, and his view is if you don't like what I'm saying, then I don't want to talk to you. That's fine, and I understand his attitude, but that could stop you getting business. Now,
Yes.
you may say, I don't want to do business with a Trump supporter or a Democrat or a Liverpool fan, which is fine. But what this does, it gives you choices. It gives you a choice to actually say, at some point, to say, I don't want to do business. I turned some business down the other day. I was talking to somebody, and what we're looking for from a customer perspective are people that want to see business benefits. And he was like, well, I just want you to come in and I'll pay you some money and you can make us better on LinkedIn. It's like, well, it doesn't work like that. It's like I can teach you how to grow a garden, but LinkedIn is just like teaching you how to use a spade. There's lots of other things I need to teach you about how to grow the seed and how to water it and stuff. So, but it gives you the choice.
Definitely, it's a choice. It gives a platform. It gives a bit of mental resilience, which is another one of my signature subjects and very close to my heart. You need to exercise a bit of resilience in order to restrain yourself also on not just Twitter, but other social media platforms also. And Twitter definitely has a great value when it comes to
So
propagating it.
number 7 is don't sell.
Yes. Don't say yes.
Ever since the beginning of time, certainly since I went into business, I was told that you had to sell. Always be closing, and you need to basically go on and pitch. Now, we're now in a world where actually that just annoys people,
Exactly.
and so we have to stop doing it. And for me, it's probably one of the biggest struggles I have, because I've been told from an early age to do it. And actually, what we want is a conversation, because marketing materials, brochures, and that they don't create conversations. It's just buy my product because it's great, and it's the same as everybody else. What we're looking for is a conversation. So see the social network as a way of creating those rather than necessarily trying to pitch your product, because when you have a conversation, that's when the sale will take place.
Exactly.
So people just need to step back and not use it as a manic way of trying to pitch.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, too much of noise on the social media is because of this kind of a desperation presently, where everybody wants to be on the social media and everybody thinks that they can sell their product through social media. This is the biggest misnomer. Don't do it. Please don't do it. Nobody should do it. Nobody should say, come to my webinar and there I would sell something to you for 1 hour.
Yeah.
But eventually, everybody knows that this is how it is going to be.
Yes,
So,
and all you'll do is annoy people.
yes, this annoyance is really real, Tim. And for the last few days, I have actually unsubscribed from a lot of email lists because the bombardment of information, although it was good information, was a little too much. This interruption marketing, as you call it in your
Yeah,
books.
yeah. It's adverts, email, and cold calling is interruption, where what you do is you interrupt somebody and you in effect pitch, you broadcast what you're going to do. And all email marketing, every single I unsubscribe for everything, because all it does is talk about the company. Now, as a client or prospect, who's the most important person in the world?
Well, the customer is.
Your
What you look
customer.
up to the.
Exactly. And we know
Yes,
that because whenever we look at a school photo, the first person we look for is ourselves. And
that's a mindset.
yeah, it's a mindset. We're the most important person in the world.
Yes.
And what people are doing is that they write these email things, and basically it's all about the company, not about the person. So I unsubscribed. I'm getting so many people that are adding me to these lists, and I've had somebody basically I've unsubscribed and they've added me again.
There are a
And
lot of email lists which are coming these days, which has come to my notice that you can't even unsubscribe from them.
oh yeah, well
It's
that's okay, yeah, but
I
that's
don't know, maybe there may be some tools or some changes over there which they have installed on the website, some plugins or something which
you in
don't
that
allow you to unsubscribe also. So
that
you
doesn't
just
mean that doesn't meet GDPR regulations. If you have to have a to
it doesn't, but
if
still being done. Still being
yeah,
done.
yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, sure, it is still being done, but it's 4% of turnover if you want to be fined. Global turnover, yeah.
Right. Right.
It's you roll. If you live by the sword, die by the sword. So it's don't sell.
Yes.
Next point is about scheduling and automation.
Hmm.
So there's nothing wrong in using what I would call scheduling. So I use a tool called Buffer,
Yes.
which is about. So I'm tweeting now, and what I do is I fill Buffer up and I tweet. But if you tweet and walk away, in effect, you've automated it, and what you're doing is that isn't authentic, and it's not human. You've in effect turned your Twitter into like a robot. And the benefit of Twitter is in the social interaction. I'm here because of you retweeted my stuff. I
Yes.
came back to you and I said thank you. I then sent you a connection request on LinkedIn,
Which was very surprising for me because
and
being
you know, and here
influencer,
and I'm sitting here. Yeah.
yes,
And
right.
so if you basically decide to automate and walk away, you won't get that. And so anybody who automates and walks away will turn around after 6 months and say, I tried Twitter and it didn't work. So there's nothing wrong in scheduling, but I go through every day. I go through all of my interactions. And so you can have a conversation. It might take me 24 hours to get to you, but if you connect to me on Twitter or have a conversation with me, I will find it and I will have a conversation with you.
That's the most effective strategy, I feel, because
Yeah,
eventually it's all about human to human interaction, whether you reach a person through social media or reach them directly. I mean, if you have that kind of influence, might as well go ahead and reach Tim directly. But otherwise,
Yes.
he's quite available on Twitter. This is what we are saying over here.
Hmm.
Reach
Yeah.
out to him on Twitter, and
Yeah.
it is the easiest way to reach out to him.
Yes.
So,
And I will pick, I'm not there all the
yes.
time, but give it 24 hours and I will pick that up. I run a global company, so it there's a time zone. So I live
Right.
in London, so I tend to working from 8 till 8.
Yes.
So I don't tend to pick the New York or the West Coast US until the next day, but it will be there.
It will be done. Yeah, that's the most important thing. You can still get into a human to human conversation. You don't know, you know for sure that the tweet is not just automated and forgotten. So
Yeah.
many people do this also, but it's not really advisable to do on Twitter specifically and on social media generally. Yes.
So number nine, we're getting close to the end. Number 9 is that your Twitter page is a reflection of you.
Yes.
It's not your company. It's not your product. It's you. And people will jump to a conclusion based on what you put on it. So there should be a picture of you. If you have a picture of you with a glass of wine, people might jump to the conclusion you're drunk. But I'm just using that as an example. Don't have a picture of a flower. Don't have a picture of a corporate logo, because people form relationships with people, not with corporate logos and flowers. So you're impeding your ability to get followers if you do that. So have a photo, say something about yourself, and if you can make it original, don't put an energetic, results orientated, lifelong learner, because everybody says that. I did a search on lifelong learner on LinkedIn the other day, and I think there's 900,000 people that are lifelong learners, which shows it doesn't differentiate you. Have a look at my Twitter, if you want some example. But have a photo, write something about you, and then don't forget the tweets are also a reflection of you as well. So if you're tweeting things that your mother wouldn't want to talk about, then remember it reflects on you.
There's a very standard deal on all the digital platforms, and especially on the social media. Don't do it if you can't do it in front of your parents. As simple as that. Simple golden rule that works all over the world.
Yes. And number 10 is kind of, I've kind of spoken about this before, but this is about you, not about your company. People buy people. They connect with people. They don't connect with brands. Well, they connect with brands like Nike and Adidas, but 99.99999% of companies are not Nike and Adidas. If you're a small business based in India, the likelihood that I've heard of you and I, pardon the expression, care about your company is probably infinitely small. And
it's non-existent, actually. Not even infinitely smaller. I think it's non-existent. So
and coming to me and saying, "Hey, I've got a great company and I've got a great product," all I'm going to do is say, "I really, I'm not.
Should I really care?
I don't have time for this." But you can build a relationship with me. You could come and have a conversation with me. You go, "I read one of your blogs. I thought it was really interesting." And have a discussion, just as much as if I met you in a networking event and you walked over to me and had a discussion. Where did you come from? Have you traveled far? Have you been in India before? Oh wow, yeah. What did you think of the Taj Mahal? Amritsar, that is a place. And what we do, what we do is I can talk to you about Amritsar. It's a fantastic place. And what we do as individuals is that we form trust by finding parts of ourselves that we have in common. So finding someone. I used to have a boss at my previous company, and he was like, boss of 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 boss. And someone said to me, if you met him, what would you do? I said, we'd be friends in 20 minutes. He said, wow, what would you say? And I said, quite easy. What was it? I'd go up to him and I'd say, hi, I've been to Amritsar. And I said, within 20 minutes, I can assure you that when I've talked about the peeling of the garlic and we sat down and ate and stuff like that, within 20 minutes, because he was Sikh, obviously, I said, within 20 minutes, he'd be my best mate. But the thing is that what we do in all of us is that we find these areas of commonality, and that's how we build trust. And that's not, we don't find that with companies. We don't build relationships with companies apart from, like, big brands. So if you're a small business or any business that's trying to sell, what you need to do is you need to forge relationships with people. Now, there's three types of people, because there's a mistake. Most people, what they do is they come to people and they think they're going to sell to them. There are some people that you won't sell to because they're just not buying. And in fact, research shows that 97% of people are not buying right now. So there are some people that you can sell to, yes, but most people are not buying. So a lot of the people that you will talk to won't buy, but they may know somebody that would be interested in what you're selling. So don't annoy a person because they may go, actually, I know somebody who's really interested in someone that can peel garlic. And the third thing is that there's type of people that basically are your advocates. So you're a great example. You take my content and you share it with your network.
Right.
So you're probably connected to people I don't know. So there are a whole bunch of people. If you've got, and anybody can do this. I'm anybody, and I've done it. You can take your ideas and you can take your content, and you can get other people to share it across the internet. So don't necessarily think everybody is someone you can sell to. There are other types of people that exist in the world. So there's our 10 points.
Great points, and they've already given me results, although I have not implemented all of them.
Yeah.
I'll be starting a Twitter chat very soon, in about a couple of weeks, and as soon as I can get everything else ready. And Tim, I'm taking this opportunity to invite you as a guest on my Twitter chat also.
I'd love to come on.
Of course, Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That'll be just fantastic, and I'm hoping I'll be able to get a good hashtag for it. I already have something on my mind, but I'm not disclosing it right away.
No. We'll keep it secret.
Although it is widely announced all through my social media platforms, that's what I do, and that's what I would want to be known for, and that's how it is going to be. So great points, all of them, all 10 of them, and I've already started receiving great results. So I'm sure if all of them
not me
put together,
it's not me. It's you.
Thank you so much. You're being so gracious. Thank you so much. The hard work definitely is there, but then I always say that all the social media journeys are like a marathon, not a sprint. You have to start somewhere and just keep on doing it consistently for 1 year, and you see the results. I mean, I joined Twitter in 2009 when it was, I think, just launched, or maybe just a new infant at that time, but I did not do anything.
Yeah.
So here I am in 2020 with this 1,500 followers, out of which 500 have come in the last month only. So I've seen the power of doing it right, but do it consistently. Well, in another 1 year's time, it's going to be giving a different kind of a picture altogether. So hard work is involved everywhere.
It is.
But one needs to do it in the right direction. So
yes.
All of these 10 growth strategies are extremely great. And one question I have in my mind, how often does one need to change the pinned tweet? Should we change it pretty often, or should we just keep it?
Good question, actually. Yeah. So for those that don't know, a pinned tweet is the first tweet. What you can do is you can pin a tweet at the top, and usually what you do is it be something that is relevant to you. So it could be you've got an event or something coming up, or you've got a book out, or you want to direct people in a particular direction. I would say that you probably need to change it every couple of months.
Okay. So if you have a product or something coming out, some announcement
Yeah.
that needs to be made. Okay.
If it's longer than 6 months, people start thinking, I wonder whether this person knows how to tweet.
Mm-hmm. All right. Okay. Great. And regarding a tweet deck, can we have some input on that, or maybe how about to create a deck or something? Is it
I don't use TweetDeck.
okay?
I use for scheduling. I use Buffer, and I
Okay.
use the free version. So you're allowed 10 tweets. So it does require me manually to. I have to fill it up every day. But if you pay a certain amount of money, then you can have 100 tweets. But I prefer to have the flexibility of, and I'm tight, so I don't want to pay the money. I use Buffer.
And that brings me to another question: how often should you tweet? Is it necessary to tweet every moment? Because I see so many people tweeting so often. That also is getting a bit annoying, although they may be sharing good content. But then when it is too much of it, nobody has the time to go through all the content.
A good point. It's a fast-flowing network. I think someone did some research to say that a tweet basically is visible for about 15 minutes and then disappears. Not disappears, but because other tweets come in on top, it goes away.
Well, yeah.
I think you need to be thinking about tweeting 5, 10. I'll tweet 20 times a day. And actually, it's interesting because my following goes up the more I tweet. Whereas I know that for people who've got less than 1,000 followers, if they follow me, that would be very annoying. But there are lots of articles about what time to tweet, and really the best time to tweet is now. Just tweet it.
Well, most of the people are having a global audience these days. I think
Yes.
4 or 5 times in a day, if you can just schedule, or maybe 10 tweets a day, that should be a reasonable amount for everybody. That
Yes.
should be done, definitely. If you can take it to 20, wonderful, as Tim says. More than that, I don't think anybody will really be interested in doing or should be interested in doing. That's my personal opinion, completely my personal opinion, because there are some people who are in my feed and they keep appearing so many times. It's not really possible for me to go through all of their content, even if it's
No.
great phenomenal content, which is losing it. So 10 or 20, between 10 to 20 tweets a day should be
Yeah.
fine with everybody. All right, great. And Twitter chat, of course, we have covered. Tell me about lists also, Twitter lists. Can you just throw something?
Twitter lists. You can create lists. So in effect, what you can do is you can go, you can pick people with a particular subject area, and rather than necessarily look at all of your followers or your feed, you can basically micro segment them. So you might be interested in e-commerce, and what you do is you add all the people that you're following that tweet about e-commerce into one area. So you could move, e-commerce, social media, have different lists, and it just enables you to micro segment.
Okay.
If you add someone to a list, just be aware that they see that you added them to a list.
Okay. Does it? Do you need to take somebody's opinion? I haven't created a list as yet. Is it all right to take somebody's opinion before adding them to your list, or can it just be done randomly?
No, you can just. There's nothing I can do to stop people adding me to a list.
No, you can't do anything to stop. That's all right. But that is one thing which has been stopping me from creating a list. Should I take somebody's opinion before taking them onto my list, or how does it go? I'm just trying to understand this. How does it go?
You just
Suppose
so the list is just a way of you micro segmenting. If you don't like the person, then don't add them to a list. It's just that how you can take the people that you like and or the people that you want to have in particular areas, and micro segment and say, right, I'm just going to look at everything to do with e-commerce, and now I'm only going to look at everything to do with social media or social selling or something like that. So you can micro segment, because sometimes your timeline can get, it's just too busy.
Okay. So it's not really offensive to anybody if you add them.
No.
Without asking for their permission.
No, you don't need to ask. No.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much, Tim. It's been just great. I can't think of any more questions, but if you wish to add something, please.
No. That's good. What I will add is that there is my book.
Yes, Social
My
Selling
first book, which
it's
is
a brilliant book. It's a brilliant book,
Techniques
and I'm going
by
through it the
Change
second
Makers.
time.
It's available on Amazon worldwide.
Right. Absolutely. It's a brilliant book. Everybody should go through it. Please connect with Tim on LinkedIn
Please
also,
connect,
as well as Twitter. And we'll soon be starting a Twitter chat, and Tim will be very graciously honoring me to be there as a guest.
Thank you.
As one of my first guests, and it'll be just fantastic. So thank you so much. We are lifelong learners. I am.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Tim. It's been just phenomenal.
You're welcome.